Yo, listen. Why coconut farmers risk their lives to feed the world's superfood obsession. Let's check it out.
This factory in Sri Lanka produces more than 30,000 metric tons of coconut a year. But almost none of it stays in the country. It's exported to Europe, the US, and Canada. The demand for coconut products has exploded in recent decades, with companies touting it as a superfood. US consumption of coconut oil has spiked nearly 30% since 2018.
Am I the only one? Can we just say that is just some of the nastiest water? I don't know if y'all have just acquired the taste over time, but I tried it, bro, and I just couldn't do it. I tried it again. I just couldn't get past it.
This company, Navik Mills, didn't even exist until 5 years ago. Today, it's one of the largest coconut processors in the country, making about $40 million a year selling coconut oil. Coconuts have been a staple food in Sri Lanka for millennia. Today, it's one of the biggest producers in the world, growing roughly 2.5 million metric tons a year. But farmers face challenges to keep up with this pace. For one, trees take a while to grow, sometimes more than 6 years before they produce any coconuts. They can live up to a century, growing fruit every month and a half during their lifetime. To make sure they're constantly harvesting ripe fruit, farmers manage massive forests in rotation. Harvesting a new area every day means farmers can also inspect the palms for any pest infestation. White flies and Asian rhinoceros beetles are coconut palms' biggest enemies. These giant beetles burrow into the core and eat the nutrients. If a tree is too far gone, farmers have to burn and remove it to prevent the beetles from spreading. Farmers carry their picking tools as they head out to harvest. That stick is one way to reach the coconuts without putting anyone at risk. But often...
I was about to say, fam, that's still putting him at risk, though, bro. One of those hits you on the head, it's over for you, fam. And we're not talking a concussion. Them things are, like, they taking you out of here.
The only way to get the fruit is to climb. Shahan started scaling palms 4 years ago. With only his hands and feet, he shimmies up the tree. It takes him only 2 to 3 minutes to reach the top. Now, he's 80 feet up, with no rope to protect him. Shahan says he's never fallen, but a fall from this height could be deadly. He knows which coconuts are ready when he hears water sloshing around inside. He'll repeat this daunting climb on dozens of trees today. One tree yields up to 80 coconuts a year.
Like, not even a safety line, not nothing. You just, your feet and trusting your legs and your hands, bro. Hey, I mean, if you can do it, but I'd like to have some type of little backup plan just in case my feet decide to fail me one day.
Farmers gather them up for sorting and drying. The drier the coconut, the easier it is to peel off the inedible outer husk. Farmers earn under $5 a day, which is less than the average salary in the country. To bridge the gap, Navik Mills told us it covers the school fees for the farmers' children. They load the coconuts on trucks bound for Navik Mills' factory just up the road. This is the second sorting stage. Imports for coconut oil have surged across the West. So to keep pace, the company introduced these saws. they doubled the speed at which they could remove the fibrous coconut shells.
මැෂින් එකෙන් අතින් කපනවා නම් පැයකට 200 250ක් විතර. මැෂින් එකෙන් කපනවා නම් 400 450 අතර වගේ කපන්න පුළුවන්.
But workers have to be careful. Flying pieces of coconut shells have nicked workers' eyes before.
අපිට අනිවාර්යෙන් hand gloves අනිවාර්යෙන් දීලා තියෙනවා. goggles අනිවාර්යෙන් පාවිච්චි කරන්න ඕන. boost දාන්න ඕන. එතකොට මේ apron එක අඳින්න ඕන.
In the main room, workers still peel the coconuts by hand.
මැෂින් වලට වැඩි පිහි ඉක්ම වැඩි. සතිවල අපි 80000ක් වගේ කපන දවසුත් තියෙනවා.
But peeling knives are no less.
Did she just say 80,000? There are times when 80,000 coconuts are cut in some weeks. There's no, if there's a demand like that, there's no reason that the average wage should be around $5. No, that's ridiculous with a demand like that.
80000ක් වගේ කපන දවසුත් තියෙනවා.
But peeling knives are no less dangerous.
දැන් අපි මෙහෙම පොල් ගෙඩිය මේ පැත්තෙන් ආවහම අරගෙන මෙහෙම මේ තියෙන්නේ පෙයාරින් පිහිය. ඊට පස්සේ මේකෙන් මෙහෙම මේ අතත් පරිස්සම් කරගෙන මොකද ග්ලව්ස් නැහැනේ මොකද.
Ashoka Kumari peels about 2,500 coconuts in a shift.
ඒ ඉක්මනට රහින්නේ අපිට පඩි හදන්නේ අපි රහින ගෙඩි ගන්නට. එතකොට අපි හදන්නේ අපේ පඩිය වැඩි කරගන්න.
Making less than 1 cent a coconut, Ashoka usually walks away with just under $10 a day. Just like farmers, it's less than an average salary in Sri Lanka. A team of inspectors comes through to check the quality. If they see any impurities, they'll pull those bad coconuts out. Meanwhile, another peeler slices open the fruit and dumps out the water. From this point on, machines will do the bulk of the work. Because of their high fat content, peeled coconuts spoil fast, so the company has to process them quickly.
Only 12 hours we can keep it. Otherwise, we have to waste the product.
The company produces over a dozen coconut products, from ice cream and water to desiccated coconut and curry-infused milks. But oil and regular coconut milk are the company's best sellers. These machines press virgin coconut oil out of chunks and pump it into glass bottles. This line is making milk. Machines grate the meat into small flakes, extract the milk, and dispense it into cans. At this point, workers hop back into the process to inspect the sealed cans and move the racks into sterilizing machines. In Sri Lanka, coconut palms are known as the tree of life. They can feed a family of 5 for a century. And they're so important, it's illegal to cut one down before it matures. Coconuts make up roughly 15% of the calories Sri Lankans consume and earn the country over $800 million every year.
Wow.
The story of coconuts in Sri Lanka goes back thousands of years. It's said they originate from the western Pacific, but floated to the Pacific Islands in India on ocean currents. People here long cherish coconuts because one fruit packs so much power. It has water, fiber to make rope, calorie-rich meat, oil, and a hard shell ideal for crafts. It also had religious importance and was presented as an offering to Hindu gods. In the 16th century, merchants brought coconuts to the global stage. Spanish and Portuguese explorers coined the term coconut from their slang word for head because of the fruit's resemblance to a face. They spread the fruit across Africa and South America. In the early 1900s, bakers in the US and the UK started using desiccated coconut in their sweets.
That's where it gets me. The taste and texture for me, I can never get beyond that. You know what I mean? If I could get past the texture, then it's the taste that gets me. I've just never been a coconut fan.
2010s, Western countries co-opted coconuts as the newest superfood.
Health gurus and wellness experts are looking beyond traditional American foods for things that are nutrient dense.
Companies and wellness influencers claimed the fruit could improve bone health and blood sugar, promote weight loss, and help slow Alzheimer's thanks to its antioxidants.
Yeah, folks are so into it because there's some big health claim attached to it.
And manufacturers were quick to capitalize.
What happened to the video quality? Hold on a second. On 32, let me jump back.
But a fall from this height could be deadly.
Yeah. It's just something happened to the video at some point. I don't know. All right, I guess we good then.
Manufacturers were quick to capitalize. Soon, coconut products weighed down shelves in health food stores across the US and Europe. Its water replaced Gatorade as a post-workout drink, and its pulp was turned into healthy ice cream. And coconut oil became a popular swap for other cooking oils because it has no cholesterol. But nutritionists say the promises the coconut crave.
Now I learned something. And see, I might be able to do the coconut water. I was just thinking about it. I might be able to like put it in my smoothies. That way I can mix it with what I put in my smoothie. Like I use spinach and fruits and oatmeal and different things in my smoothie. So if I use that coconut water instead of water, I might be able to ingest it if it's the superfood that everybody claims it to be.
Was built upon aren't so straightforward.
So now all of a sudden it means to eat them. If it's culturally relevant, go for it. Even if it's not and you want to try it, go for it. What I do say to people is don't expect a miracle cure from it.
But all this health confusion hasn't stopped consumers from gulping down coconuts, allowing Sri Lanka to take its business well beyond its shores. While the country still eats roughly 75% of its own coconut production, big companies like this one have popped up solely to export the product. In just 5 years, Navik Mills has become one of the biggest coconut processors in Sri Lanka. Altogether, Navik Mills processes 30,000 metric tons of coconuts, and 95% of it ends up abroad, mostly in European and North American countries. And the company has gone to incredible lengths to keep up with surging demand. It had to plant 20,000 more trees and hire dozens of new workers.
Rebuilt a new plant, so expanding production line and fixing new machine.
But coconut farmers aren't the only superfood producers feeling this squeeze.
Foods that originate outside of the US, there was a massive peak in interest in the last 10 to 15 years. There was a time when that was not a thing.
In the Brazilian Amazon, farmers risk their lives to scale thin trees for acai. The berries have been a staple food here for centuries. But in the last decade, they've gained global fame, praised for their antioxidants and blended into a valuable frozen pulp. While an acai smoothie bowl can go for $15 in New York City, Brazilian farmers make as little as 20 cents a pound for the raw berries. In Peru, producers of quinoa have nearly tripled production to keep up with demand from consumers in the US and Europe. Soon, French and British farmers started growing quinoa themselves to grab a share of the profit. They flooded the market with too much supply and sent Peruvian prices plunging in 2015. In Mexico, avocado farmers have formed vigilante groups to fight off cartels gunning for their valuable crops.
Now, I know y'all been ODing on avocado, fam. Y'all do too much with the avocado. Like, I see it on, I think people done started putting it in their cereal at this point, man. Like, y'all doing too much with the avocado.
Avocado prices jumped 129% in a decade when it became a favorite for millennials.
I'm always wary of the next miracle food.
Because just like coconut, nutritionists are split on if these superfoods are actually as powerful as the marketing suggests.
Right.
There is a particular way that we talk about wellness in the US, and it's really from this Anglo-American, Anglo-European perspective. And we don't know how to quantify or categorize things that fit outside of dominant wellness culture.
What's left out is the historical and cultural context of superfoods, and the acknowledgement of the people left to bear the brunt of our health food obsessions.
We have to blame these companies, bro. I was just talking to somebody about that in somewhat relation to this, because we were talking about cereals. Remember back when you were young and all the athletes, and you might have been playing sports growing up, and you wanted to get better, and they came out with the box of Eat Your Wheaties, and like it was supposed to do this for you, so you were bugging your parents to go out and buy boxes of Wheaties that really wasn't that good and did nothing for you. Like these companies are good with the marketing. Let's just say that. So I get what she's saying.
On the other end of every single thing that we put into our mouth is someone who's worked tirelessly to get it there.
Elon Musk is suing OpenAI for breach of contract. The billionaire entrepreneur says the US firm is now putting profit before its founding principle of developing AI responsibly. Mr. Musk, who helped set up the firm, says Microsoft has ploughed billions into OpenAI and has in effect turned it into a subsidiary. The two companies deny the claim, but US regulators are investigating the parameters of Microsoft's investment. Mr. Musk left OpenAI in 2018 to set up his own rival. He has warned before that the unfettered use of generative artificial intelligence could pose an existential threat. Microsoft just bought one of the emerging AI companies in France this week. They're already under investigation, Annabelle, over competition laws. Do you think Microsoft is starting to suffocate the space that there is for innovation?
Certainly, I think it's problematic when it comes to artificial intelligence. It's a field where we need as many contenders able to climb the ladder and fewer large organizations which are creating this revolutionary technology but pulling the ladder up behind them. You know, I think there are serious questions to be asked about Elon Musk's motivations, about the world's richest man complaining about profit making over benefit to humanity, which some may view as a little self-serving. That said, I think that there are very serious questions that we need to ask at the government level across the world about whether AI is going to benefit humanity or whether it is going to harm mankind. And if we have fears over the latter, which certainly some politicians have voiced, then how are they going to regulate it? Because in the UK, at least, they were very slow to regulate the internet. And when they did eventually pass the Online State Bill, it was a very far wide-reaching piece of legislation which encompassed arguably far more than actually needed to, without addressing the fundamental concerns that we have over safety online.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, Ian, whether actually maybe it's a better thing that the big companies are in charge of this and controlling the rollout of this extremely powerful technology. But Annabelle makes a very good point that the big companies that have had charge of social media, Meta, Twitter, TikTok, these sort of big companies, they've not done a very good job of that. So maybe we'd be better going the other way.
Yeah, I'll see what happened with Zuckerberg in front of Congress just here recently, right? And everything that they were talking about.
They've done a horrible job of it. Social media has basically regulated itself, which meant that it's had no interest in taking responsibility for the well-being of either the people that are on their platforms or the political systems that they operate in, and democracy and our citizens are worse off as a consequence. Now, when it comes to AI, certainly the governments are trying to get a move on governance with much greater urgency, in part because of the lessons that they have learned from the hands-off on social media. And companies are trying with various degrees of success to cooperate with those governments. But it's not at all clear that it's going to succeed. The technology is moving a lot faster than the governments are. And that means the business models are going to matter a lot more for the governance. I do worry that when we think about the future of AI in 3 or 5 years' time, it's quite possible that with the amount of compute required and the amount of energy required to run that compute, that it's only going to be perhaps a very small number of systemically important companies, maybe even working with governments, that will be capable of operating at the cutting edge. That will require a much more assertive governance if that's where the technology goes.
Just in terms, maybe get a quick thought from both of you, because we are a bit pressed for time, but just one social media post that I saw from Miles Taylor, one of our panelists this week. He's been talking to Senator Mark Warner, Ian, and he said that they have a dossier in their hands that the Russians are now able to create these bots and personas on social media using AI in a much more efficient, much more dangerous way than they were able to in 2016, 2020. The concern was that Senator Warner thinks that they've just not had a conversation really within Congress about how they're going to stop that or how they're going to tackle it.
That's right. It's going to require a crisis first. We already saw, one deep fake with a robocall pretending to be Biden in the run-up to the New Hampshire primary. There's going to be a lot more of this, and the companies are going to have to respond very, very quickly with governments as things start to break. That we have that with cyber.
That's what scares me. I don't think we're prepared. I think they think they are, but I don't think we're truly prepared for what's to come.
An entire cybersecurity industry came up after things started to break. That's going to happen on AI.
And what about this side? Because I know that there is a sort of intelligence-led approach to it. MI5, I think, are involved in it. Are you convinced by what the government is saying to protect the upcoming British election?
I certainly have concerns. Now, the country at the moment is being run by tech bro Rishi Sunak, who has wanted to try and lead the world on AI regulation. He had hosted a global summit last autumn to that effect, but there are very serious concerns. What really worries me is the pace of change. It was 10 years ago that we were worried about the internet and its ability to be weaponized in order to spread disinformation, to discredit certain candidates in an election. Now we have the rise of AI and, as Ian says, deepfakes, which are going to convince members of the public at a speed that may not be corrected before they go to the polls. So certainly there's a very real concern there, and I'm not sure that the government has the tools yet to address it.